So if you have noticed, we actually on air. We're actually on air. But well, most of the people they are late, so we'll be having some kind of casual conversation for 5-7 minutes. So and I will be from time to time introduce you because people will be coming hopefully. Don't switch off your microphone. Go ahead with talking.
All right. Well, we're on the air anyways, boys. So yeah, we got a nice international session here, guys. Not an American in the house. That's rare. It's nice. We're taking over, boys. The international scene. I like it.
Yeah, actually, well, if Shelly won't show up, we will have not a single one from United States. Okay, we have more people coming, people gather. I'll start. Okay, Dave Harry. He's a main speaker today, together with Doc Sheldon. So they were preparing this roundtable. So Dave is in Canada and Doc is in Mexico. Okay, we have Malhat Barai. Malhat, you've done a couple of things on the RankBrain, so I guess you have some understanding, if any have any understanding. Okay.
Definitely yes.
Okay, so we have Pedro Diaz from Brazil. Pedro ex Google. Pedro, when you were in Google, RankBrain didn't exist.
Actually, it did, but not in the form that we kind of know it today. If you not RankBrain as the name, but there was a lot of experiments with machine learning and artificial intelligence stuff. If you consider that, if you look at Panda is one, as we all know, is a behavioral. It's an algorithm that analyzes behavior around the website. So it has is a very primary form of any kind of machine learning stuff that you can have around the website. So it's not as evolved as it is nowadays, but it was where you could say that it was where Google started with.
Well, there was even the Google Brain dates all this too. There was Google Brain where Jeffrey Dean, Greg Corrado, and all those guys, they were actually working on Google Brain. I don't know what 2013 or so, maybe 2012. And I think a lot of that's part of this evolution that got to here. So
exactly.
So, yeah, it just didn't get a formal name, I guess, until last year. But machine learning's not new. The whole neural net approaches isn't new, and a lot of this stuff was still being done. It just wasn't really called this or described in any kind of way. Like I think they were looking at a lot of sentiment analysis. Like a lot of the research papers I saw from Jeffrey Dean and Greg Corrado and stuff, where they were using vectors and things of that nature back in the Google Brain days. I mean, they were doing this kind of stuff. It just didn't have that formal name to it.
Yeah, and everybody was like poking around on it, and everybody didn't know very much how to use it. What's the best way to use this? Now, as the web evolves, and now we have we have people using our phones to do queries via voice, and we have all of these different things coming into the web, and it's just not web pages anymore of text and people not typing on a keyboard. So there is the need of something else that ties all of these worlds together and understands them, as we have very different from search engines and whatever puts us online. So, and what data we have online. So I'd say that given this evolution, it makes more sense now that they knew how to make this happen, rather than a few years ago where everything was much more limited, and probably they were just poking around and saying, oh, this is fun to poke around with, but where are we going to make?
Yeah, well, like the Google Brain stuff, they were looking at sentiment analysis, with the IMDb for a while was one of the experiments they were running with that. I think another one was YouTube videos. They were actually using some of the Google Brain stuff on that as well. So yeah, like you're saying, then there's such a huge lean right now towards mobile. And like you're saying, you know, querying your mobile phone these days isn't just web search. You could be using it for Google Calendar. You can be using it for different apps, and there's application focus. Like, they've showed different tests and stuff. Doc, remember when Buddy was, he's looking at his Facebook app, and he asked the question, "Okay, Google, show me the cast of the movie," but the movie he was looking at was actually on a Facebook page, and Google took that application focus and went from the Google Facebook app off to Google itself to find more information. So yeah, like you're saying, it's really a cross-application kind of focus these days, as opposed to just pure web search, right? So and that becomes the beast. So, but so much of this, I guess, to a degree, is still the whole word vector approach. You know what I mean? And how you go from that. A lot of the papers and things we've read as far as word to vec, paragraph to vec, which is Greg Corrado and all those guys were working on. Yeah, they're really finding, like you said, it was almost here's an interesting toy, but what do we do with it? How do where do we apply this? Where is it going to find its use? And I think that's with the RankBrain stuff where a lot of people got lost, is because they said, well, we're using it for query analysis and this and that, and so everyone kind of ran on that direction, as opposed to, where is it going to be? Where's it? This is like a starting point as far as I can tell from anything we've researched. So.
Well, and there was some discussion. If you start looking at some of the discussion groups, a decade back in 2007, 2008, there were a lot of heated arguments amongst the players in this field, because we have traditionally tried to think about computers, how to make them think like we do, okay? And it's not going to happen, because we don't even know how we think. But the one thing that we're finally starting to realize is we do not think the way that we always thought we did. The human brain does not function the way that we have traditionally assumed it did. And you're not going to model anything after the human brain until you understand it. And I think we're probably a long ways from understanding that. So somebody finally came up with the idea, okay, rather than trying to copy what we do, let's just figure out the most efficient way to do with a computer what we want done. And that's where the word to vec, paragraph to vec, doc to vec all came to play, is actually determining the most efficient way that they could come up with at the time. And I think it still is the most efficient way, because when you start applying vectors to words or phrases or entire documents, now you have the ability to match two or more things, and in a way that scales. In fact, the larger the corpus, the more accurate it is, which is unlike most scientific applications. Normally, the accuracy goes downhill, and this it actually climbs. So, the arguments now have died out. Now people are beginning to realize that vectoring is the way to do this at scale, and it's working.
And you can see that if you look at how good Google Translate works now as opposite as it worked before. I think it's a big help that Google Translate has been around for so long, because it helped. It always had a component where it asked users for feedback, like, is this translation okay? How can we improve it? And Google had a lot of data coming in from there, and watching users use it in the real world, and how it can tap into the natural language that users would input in there, and how would they make those translations better, and how would they apply the data. So there's a lot of...
Just interrupt you, because we haven't really started. Yes, we got one more guest. Okay, Shelly, Kramer, Well, she's only from United States today. She only gets from United States. Or usually it's all raw United States, but today
Yeah,
it's
we're
not.
international this week, Shelly. You know, you're the only representative of the U.S. So no pressure, no pressure.
I'll try. I'll try not to mess up. I'm so nervous.
You are now representing an entire country, all right? So,
oh my gosh! Oh, the weight on my shoulders. Way to go.
Yeah. Well, okay. We have Dave Hardy from Canada. We have Doc Sheldon. Well, he's in Mexico, so well. Okay. We have Malhar Barai from India. We have Pedro Diaz. He is in Brazil, and we have American from United States, Shelly, Kramer. So basically, it's geography is very well presented, and knowledge I'm pretty sure as well. Okay, I can see a lot of tweeters from Sergio Redondo as well. Okay, I guess we waited enough. So everyone who wants to join us probably already joined. No point to wait more. So let's go and with the plan. So David, Doc, it's all yours, and obviously we will use your expertise, guys. So okay, just David, Doc, it's all yours.
I think we touched on some things so far, and a lot of this. I think the confusion, or whatever you want to call it, around RankBrain is because, to start with, we don't know a lot. A lot of people are running around saying this is what it does, that's what it does. We've heard everything from content developers down to link builders and everyone in between. And I think the main thing is that people need to stop guessing. And there's way too many myths out there. What's going on? I think, Doc, we're talking just before the show, that I think this is almost more important as understanding in the sense of the evolution of search. You know what I mean? That it's almost like a hummingbird moment or something of that nature. This is just sort of a glimpse of a technology of where things are going to be going. It's not as much, we've said time and time again, people are like, well, how do I do SEO for RankBrain? I don't think you do. This is more about how the engines are evolving and understanding that. It's not something that and watching the giggling over there. Because, SEOs, they're just famous for wanting to manipulate things. And sorry, folks, this isn't about manipulating stuff. Do I keyword stuff my page? Do I do this? What do I do? And on the other hand, we have people that come to us and say, well, what do I tell my boss? My boss wants to know. And at this point, I've just told people, just tell them not to worry about it. Go on with business as usual, creating good quality content, worry about your architecture, worry about all that other stuff, because I don't think RankBrain is something you really go and manipulate at this point. It doesn't seem to be that way. This is more about the evolution of search, and I think a lot of this is going to tie into voice search down the road. If they're trying to use vectors to better understand queries, then what does that tell us? Well, and there's been misconceptions too, is that people have been saying that RankBrain's only running on unknown queries. Actually, what they've said is that it's been shown to be most effective there, which means it's running across everything. It's just showing more effectiveness on lesser known or lesser used queries and things of that nature. So again, as we start to move into the world of voice search getting more prominent, and that's people don't type like they talk. So this kind of approach is something I think personally is going to go well beyond text, and I think this is part of their move towards voice, that they can better understand queries down the line. And again, we don't know much. You've got the word2vec stuff that obviously, looks a lot like it. I found patents on word2vec that Google put out in last year, and obviously you've got Jeffrey Dean, you've got Greg Corrado, you've got the usual suspects that have been talking RankBrain and that were on Google Brain before that, which is, for the uninitiated, that's the machine learning and things of that nature that Google had a project going, 2012, whatever. So you've seen some of the same people in this word2vector thing, but these same characters have also put out research papers on paragraph to vector, and that would be more of a page level. Again, this word2vec doesn't seem to be something that's going to be as effective on a page level as it is on a query level, whereas paragraph to vector kind of approaches seem, obviously, Doc, it's definitely geared far more towards analyzing a page, I guess, you know what I mean? But once more, folks, we don't know. You can sit here and guess. Like, you can talk to 10 different Googlers and get 10 different answers because they work in 10 different departments and they have 10 different trains of knowledge and thoughts, I've seen how many of these guys literally saying something opposite than each other. So for us to sit around as, the old Mac cut stage going, oh, did Matt mean this or did he not mean that because he said this? And trying to pigeonhole all that. It's just again, it's the old thing of I just wish SEOs would start to better understand how a search engine works instead of trying to figure out how to manipulate it. Instead of trying to do all this other stuff, understand how it works. I've always joked that SEOs. I always say my wife's a web developer, so I always tell her, I said, most SEOs are like a web developer who doesn't know HTML, because most SEOs don't have a clue how a search engine actually even works, and they're doing this for a living. So I find that just generally bizarre. So yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, Dave. Every time something new happens in search, you've got 100 people trying to spout their conjecture as fact. And it confuses people because, requests, as recently as yesterday, I got requests from people that have been online for 10, 15 years. What are some good blogs to read so I can find out what's really happening? There are none, okay? There's some good blogs to read, but if you use those for a basis of fact, then you're barking up the wrong tree. The thing is, do some critical thinking. Look at what you're actually seeing and hearing. Do some experimentation. But all you can really do is try to sort out what we really know and what we don't know, and is conjecture, and then apply some thought process to it. Okay, what makes sense? In terms of Google, for instance, I always look at what seems to be their goal today, and how might that indicate what their goal tomorrow is going to be. So that's one of the reasons I find RankBrain so fascinating, because it just opens up so many possible opportunities down the road when it's not just looking at search queries, and it's starting to be they're applying vector interpretation against documents. This is going to revolutionize search. But you're right. You don't optimize for this. You optimize your site. Okay. You optimize it technically and content-wise for the users. And Google is adapting to that. So
the thing is that it's not just about language processing, or it's about all the implicit things that go into the moment that the user is searching for something that weren't there before, like location, for example. Now search engines can tap into location. Search engines can understand the time of the day. Certain search engines can understand if the user is moving, if the user is standing, is still in a place, if the weather in that location, the habits of the user. So there's a lot of data that search engines can tie into a moment of the query. That's why Google usually says that mobile is made of moments, because there are so many moments, and all these moments make the same query different every time.
Yeah, for sure. We did one with hockey at one point, and we literally the one word hockey, and we had someone in one part of Canada do it, someone in another part of the States do it, and someone over here do it, and literally each time it would come somewhat different. A local hockey team for that area, or whatever sports team for that area. So literally that same, like you're saying, that moment in time of that one word query or any kind of query is going to be affected by location, by language, by so many other things. Like football in the UK as opposed to, or the rest of the world as opposed to football in North America, etc. Right? So yeah, I agree totally. And that's a huge change.
So it's going more with. Okay, sorry, Pedro. Go ahead.
No, just one small thing that I wanted to add, and then I'll leave it up for you. The thing is that people are trying to deconstruct a thing in a moment that it's really getting impossible to deconstruct unless they understand what they are really dealing with. And if they want to go with the approach, tell me what I have to put in my HTML to make my site rank for RankBrain, or tell me what I have to say to my phone to make my site rank for RankBrain, that's totally the wrong approach. They have to consider the whole holistic view and how a machine would learn and how what's needed to. Google always had this in their mission statement. In the mission statement, Google says that Google wants to organize the information of the world, not the internet, of the world. So that's a very subtle but important difference. That Google wants to what's around you, not just what's on the internet. And that involves bringing online everything, and that was not there before. That involves a lot of data points to tap on to serve the user. No, sorry, you can go on now.
Hey, all right.
I have something to contribute. If I could just take a minute, I think that you made the comment just now that you have to think about how machines learn, and I actually think I disagree. I think that, well, I don't think I disagree. I do disagree. I think that it all goes back to a point that you just made, Doc, and this is an alien concept for so many people, for SEOs, for marketers, for salespeople, and really what we need to start with is we need to start with the user. We need to start with the consumer, and giving a damn about what it is they think, how it is they think, where it is they think, how they look for information, and optimizing everything around our knowledge of that, and never taking our eyes off of the consumer and their practices and their habits and their journey to information, their path to purchase. Those are different things sometimes. But I think that's why this is so difficult, because we're so arrogant about this in so many ways, and we've been kind of pushing as marketers. I'm a marketer, so we've been pushing our messages on people and creating content that sells our crap and everything else. And as SEOs, so many times there's no understanding of buyer personas and what their practices are and what the path to purchase looks like and what micro moments look like, to one of your earlier points. And so I think that that's really what makes sense, is to focus there, and then the machine learning is a part of that experience that you create for customers. But I really think it all goes to really caring enough to understand the users and putting your critical thinking toward what does this look like, and I think that we're far away as professionals from understanding that.
Absolutely, I agree, Shelly. Yeah. If you look at the slow process that mankind has taken towards computers and robots and artificial intelligence, we insist on trying to build robots, for instance, that look like us, that walk like us, that talk like us, they sound like us, and we don't do very well at it. The better robots, and they've developed some out there now for military use, which are really frightening. These things are four-legged, and they run more like a dog than they do like a man, but they handle terrain 4 times faster, and they're 7 times more stable on uneven ground. So when you break out of the box a little bit and stop trying to make a copy of what you do, how you think, and start thinking about what your target is, what's the goal, and design for that. And really, the algorithms and the search engines aren't buying anything from any of us. So if you're a marketer, you better be talking to your readers.
Right.
You start thinking, right? You also get some dumb luck in there, Doc. Anyways, go ahead, Malheur.
Hey, sorry. So I guess I agree with what Doc said as well as Shelly. In terms of you have to understand the consumer and then formulate your SEO. Just do the normal SEO. You cannot game RankBrain and say, okay, I will be able to rank this. Just how you would converse on a mobile device, that's how you can probably look at and then do your content strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Again, in a RankBrain world, it's to me, it's a sign of the future as far as better understanding of pages, queries, and things of that nature. As Doc touched on, obviously, bigger corpuses, less processing, always a bonus for Google. And that's kind of most how you start to look at Google technology to decide, is this going to be around in 5 years or isn't it? What is the benefit to Google even for this kind of approach? And obviously, they're seemingly thinking it's huge. And obviously, the mobile thing, like back to what we were talking about earlier, that Google is definitely, it's the information of the world, because Google's new thing, as Doc, you and I have been watching some seminars and shit like that. Sorry, there I go. Hey, I lost it. Hey, Doc. 24 minutes. Hey, not bad. Anyways, but yeah, in the sense that it's this whole personal assistant approach that Google has now too. Again, like we were saying, you're not just querying the web anymore. It's this person. Your phone becomes this personal assistant where when's my doctor? Okay, Google, when's my if you've got an Android and you use like the calendar and stuff, okay, Google, when's my doctor's appointment? Boom, it spits that back. So now you're not just querying a search engine per se as we traditionally think of it. You know what I mean? Now you're querying a device, being in this case a mobile phone, and you're querying that device, and it's going to figure out what that question is and what answer to bring you. You know what I mean? You go to Chrome and say, when's my doctor's appointment? It's just going to look at you stupid and go, I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. Whereas this Android is in this mobile device, totally different. And again, so understanding these language queries and not only how they relate and what they mean, but also what the answer is. Does this person want their Google Docs back? Did they want their calendar to come back with something? What is it they actually want? My wife plays. We've been playing a lot with the voice search and stuff like that, and to the degree that it'll even understand which people you communicate more with. She can pick up her phone and say,
well, and also
okay,
think about
Google,
it.
make a post to David's Google Plus page. It doesn't ask David who. It literally understands how many times she communicates. Pops up my page. She can voice text in and boom, and puts a post on my Google Plus page because it understands the interactions and who she interacts with the most.
Well, and look at I have 10-year-old twins, and we have an Amazon Alexa. It's sitting in our kitchen. I watch my kids use Alexa all the time for, hey Alexa, what's the capital of this or whatever. We use the robot all the time for just a wide variety of things, and I don't even use it to control things in the house as much as I do for information, for entertainment. I watch both kids use their iPhones and say, hey Google, what's this? We have a car that has voice-activated controls, so I can tell my car to do things. I mean, this is something that people of our generations, and we all span a variety of generations, are using. But 10-year-olds, I mean, this is what all they know. So when you think about the future of voice and that's moving along at such a rapid pace, that, and also I think image search, I just wrote about that today too, and I think that's going to change search as well, because we're dealing with a whole new generation that's highly visual. I watch my kids, when they go to a search engine, they care less about text results than they want image results.
Oh, my kids will search YouTube before they do anything. Like literally, it could be how to make a grilled cheese or something. My kids will use YouTube way before they'd use Google.
Absolutely, my kids know all the celebrity people who do makeup videos and everything else on YouTube. They're so dialed in. It's funny.
It's more like we have been trained to do keywords. So we have been trained to do keyword strategy, and then now it has to move to more human conversations.
Yeah, it's more of an intent-based targeting approach we should be looking at than a keyword one.
Exactly, it's much more intent, and now, like as Shelly was telling, you don't just use one place to query a search engine. You can be in your car and query the search engine from your car, from your fridge in the kitchen, from your Xbox in the living room, from wherever you are. So it's different devices, all connected, all tapping into these moments that you are. And as David said, it's all about intention. It's all about what you want in that moment and how Google understands, how this personal assistant is going to understand all what's involved before delivering to you.
Yeah, and so again, coming back around to our RankBrain, so we don't get too lost, but yeah, this becomes part of that core is understanding and again, if you look at some of the Word2Vec stuff, they looked at some sentiment analysis. Again, they were trying to figure out, what is positive and negative words, what are because stop words was always the thing back in the day, and that's all gone now because. That if I say that's a badass car, well, what does that mean? 10 years ago, the word bad, the word ass, and the word car, they don't make any sense. But when you start to put them together in a modern search sense that Google has to start to figure out these things. I've got a British and Australian guy. He says, "Oh, my mate and I went out for dinner." Does that mean he went out with his wife, or did he go out with his friend? So now you've got words that have duplicitous meanings that you have to start to dig into, and then we get back to translating and everything else. So yeah, this is, to me, a lot of this is where this starts to break down into. And again, if they're looking at sentiment analysis, they're looking to understand emotions almost to a degree, which obviously isn't going to happen with natural language processing, so to speak, but using an approach like this where you're getting a better sense of how words relate to each other, that's where you start to crack that nut a bit, I think.
Yeah, it's that emotion is, I think it taps into yet another level, because when you say to a guy, "Hey, get out of here," and when you say, "You get out of here," it's completely different. You mean two different things with the same words, just with different tone of your voice, and this is yet another complexity that you add to whatever you start to talk into with an artificial intelligence machine.
Well, and that's a good point, Pedro, because now, like your example of "get out of here" and those two different uses, the context of the conversation becomes critical to understand how you meant it when you said it. Okay, now there is where you're not going to write optimizing for RankBrain. You're going to write optimizing for your user, because you're going to make that context clear. The old saying, "Content is king." Well, maybe it was to a degree, but now context is king, friend.
Context is the king.
So if your context is clear for your users, it will be clear for the search engine algorithms and their learning algorithms. The clearer it is, the faster and the more they will learn, and the better they'll get at it. So again, write for context, write for clarity, and write for as high quality as you can possibly produce, so that you're going to make it the best experience possible for your readers. And now you've optimized for the search engines. But that's the secondary. That's the secondary effect. The primary.
And certainly, we can give some advice, Doc. If we can give some advice, you certainly don't need to write 4 pages. How. You don't need to write 4 pages to answer the same question, I don't think. I think it's going to start to understand this. Yeah, the boys at EHOW won't like that one, but, I think you could start to, as this evolves, you're not going to need to write 4 pages to answer that same intent, that same question, and trying to target it multiple times with multiple pages. I don't think you really need to do that going forward.
Or even with the use of multiple synonyms in the same document, or multiple use of the same keyword. It's no longer necessary. As long as it's clear to the user, you've achieved your goal.
All right, so you won't have to write for the search engines. You'll have to write for the user now. So that's how it's, yeah.
Go figure. They've only been telling us that for 10 years.
Yeah, really.
That's always what Google wanted all along. Google always said to webmasters and to SEOs and to people, don't chasing the user, so you should be chasing the user as well, not to be one step behind.
Yeah, but guys like us, we've been preaching that for years too. But the problem is, guys, before the days of unnatural links, penalties, Penguin, and stuff. I 10 years ago, whatever, 6, 7 years ago, I was telling people, stop doing this, stop doing that, just focus on that. But they could still go out and spam a bunch of links and rank. So I was just barking up against the wall, and these guys could sit there and go, "Ha, Dave," So. But at least now we're getting to that era where it is becoming, more valuable to think that way, and even architecturally, and people should have been doing the whole time instead of just spamming links. So.
All right. So many of us indeed preach that don't do that, but yeah, on the practice, no one did it. Right.
No, everyone just parroted that advice, but nobody was actually doing it.
Right.
But. And a lot of people paid for that, over the years, as Panda and Unnatural, various manual actions came along, and other algorithms came out, like Panda, Penguin, and things like that. They have slowly started to retrain them. I remember having many a conversation with Matt Cutts, before he left, and we'd sit around and talk about stuff, and, we'd have that very discussion, that it's going to take time for you to retrain the industry itself. You know what I mean? You're going to have to, and he would make that point, because I was like, well, you guys are kind of hurting the business owner, not the SEO, because he's just going to go out and spam some other client site. But it's a process that they had to go through, and you know, I understand, you know, in my conversation talking to Matt, that you know, that little pain had to be suffered to get us to this point. So.
Well, when you start talking about the kind of retraining that Matt was talking about, now you're at the point where artificial intelligence may surpass human intelligence, because we don't seem to be making much progress on the latter.
We never do.
No.
You know, and even all this voice search and this whole process that we're leading towards. I mean, Hummingbird was a lot towards this direction with query changes in query classifications and things of that nature back in 2013. And I think this has been a process, not just a, you know, didn't just jump out of the dark last fall, even though most SEOs seem to think so. You know, we've walked down a road to get to this point, and it'll be interesting to see where it leads, like how analytics are going to play out in the years to come. Like, what are the analytics on voice search going to look like? That'll be interesting.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we're still looking at data in the sense of hard, you know, web search data, whereas, you know, voice search is going to be totally different. Like you know, you have mobile data, and we have mobile data, but it doesn't actually break down which of these visits were voice and which of these visits were text. You know, I'd be curious to see that.
Right, the voice and mobile will make a big difference going forward. Yeah,
absolutely.
As well as together with all the other signals that you cannot just measure within, like visits to a website, like weather, like how you put the weather in the analytics data, how you put user mood into analytics data.
Or even temporal stuff, you know what I mean? I've looked at various patents where, you know, Google uses a predictive sort of element, meaning that if they know you're traveling from here to an hour away every day, Monday to Friday between 9 and 5, it work, and, you know, show different things based upon where you are on that journey. Now, there's even parts of patents that say, well, okay, Bob here every September goes here at this holiday time of year, he more than likely he's going to visit a relative, so 2 weeks before that we'll start showing him ads for something where we predict he's going to be. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you know, there's just so many elements now that you really can't, I don't think you ever could deconstruct it, but it's, you know, next to impossible now. Anyone who's trying to deconstruct Google, they're out of their mind.
It's forever ongoing evolution on this now. Hummingbird and RankBrain is just like the beginning of it's not even the beginning. The beginning was, like you said, way back then, and now it's just like it's out now for public, but we are just going to see it evolve even more.
Absolutely.
And even I think the user intent thing that Shelly was talking about, you know, even if you look at, you're breaking down mobile and you're breaking down desktop and things of that nature, the buying cycles are different. You know, again, every query space is going to be slightly different depending on the classification. You can't just have a cookie cutter approach to any of SEO in general. You know, different clients, different markets, different query spaces, different product types. You know, I've looked at some clients that have 50-50 mobile and desktop, but sales are coming from desktop at a 60-70% rate, whereas other products or other clients you have, it could be the opposite, where more of the purchases are coming from mobile than they are desktop. So once again, now you've got to understand your market better. You have to understand your users better. You have to understand how that client's, you know, again, what's our end result intent is. That's not as simple as it ever was either. You know what I mean? That whole approach to mobile and desktop, you got to go through the buying cycle and look how that's actually working out. And then you got attribution. Did they find you first on Facebook, then search you? You know what I mean? I had a client last year, and brand searches were dropping, meaning for their name. Got in this, you know, meeting with the whole team and stuff, and I said, have you guys stopped doing offline marketing? Have you, like, taken some money out of the budget? And they were like, yeah, we did. How do you know that? I was like, well, because your brand searches are gone down, you know, so people aren't going to look for you because your presence doesn't exist, you're saying, in the rest of the world. Life is not just a search engine. So.
Well, I think Shelly hit on a point earlier that is really important. You know, we're marketers, or, you know, whether we're marketing our services to our potential clients or we're marketing our client services or products to their customer base, you've got to keep the marketing in there. Understand who you're talking to, what they want to find, where are they in their funnel, and focus on the marketing aspect, or don't call yourself a marketing consultant, because it's just you can't.
Or an SEO, or an
Yeah,
SEO.
exactly. I mean, because
basically
an SEO is a marketer too, or it better be. I mean, I do a lot of technical SEO, but a lot of what I do has to be marketing focused.
Right.
Completely. I wrote in the chat a while ago that we want different things as marketers and users. And sometimes, as marketers, we forget to look into that we want different things as users. And we should, as marketers, we should be able to tap into that and say, okay, what do I want as a user, and how I can make this work better as a marketer? Or how can I use this knowledge as a marketer and go towards what the user wants? Because look at it, as users we want privacy, as marketers we want data from the users, but as a user we don't want to give data to marketers. But it's a complex thing.
Well, I think though that the ironic thing is that this isn't new. This isn't something that just happened. I mean, this is, consumers have opted out of advertising a long time ago, not just yesterday. And they don't want to hear marketing messages. They don't want to be spammed every time they turn around. And so, what they have is problems that they want solutions for. And I would venture a guess that in most situations, they don't even care so much about the privacy as long as you can solve my problem.
Well, educate or entertain. You know what I mean? Most people don't mind you get a marketing message if it's either entertaining or educating them.
Right.
They don't mind that. You know what I mean? If you're just going to blatantly point, well, they don't want that. But yeah, for sure, educate and entertain, and you'll get somewhere.
But we have, we focus primarily in the B2B space and work in many instances with enterprise level companies who still don't understand exactly what we're talking about now. That we don't need to hit them over the head with every single piece of content that we develop about selling stuff to them and have every single thing that we do that. We work with sales teams that have no idea why social even could contribute at all to their sales success. They have no idea. Enterprise level corporations in many instances aren't even doing any training along those lines. And sometimes their budget for SEO and SEM is ridiculous. I mean, they're spending, they might have big spends at a national level, but they're not doing anything from a local SEO standpoint. And so it's just, it's frustrating as a marketing professional. It's frustrating, I'm sure, as somebody who understands the world of SEO, to have these conversations. And, we're all reasonably intelligent people, but the reality of it is, in many instances, our clients, large and small, are so far behind when it comes to just understanding this basic premise. Customers have problems, they want to be entertained, they want information, and our job is to give it to them. I mean, that's not brain surgery, but there are way too many people that don't get that, and I think that
I advise clients and people I teach alike, one of the best places to ever start getting content and driving content is sit down with the sales team and sit down with the customer service teams. Because
absolutely.
the sales team has the objections to the sale, meaning what is it that people are buy, and the customer service teams has the people that are coming to them saying, how do I use this, how do I fix this, how do I do this and that. Yeah. Any content, so many guys I know that would just, what's a good keyword tool? Give me a keyword tool. I want to make some top 10. Yeah, give me one of the. And I'm like, why are you doing that? That doesn't teach you anything. Some random tool some guy built somewhere in the middle of whatever Idaho is not going to help you. Talk to your sales teams. Talk to your customer service teams. This is where the content lies that you're looking for. Your authority, your trust. So. But it's bizarre. And again, that goes back to your keywords and your terms and what you're targeting, what you're developing, what you're building. Where is that? You know, and the other one is the obvious one. People are like, what keyword tool should I use? I'm like, I don't know. Talk to the chief financial officer. What's our top selling products? Which products have the highest margins? Let's go for those, maybe, huh? You know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess coming from a B2B company, I know the challenges we as a marketers face. Even inside, it's tough to sell to those managers that, okay, you don't do SEO, you don't do a keyword, you think about the user who's coming to your website or who's reading about you, answer their questions, answer what they are looking for. It's a tough sell there.
Sad but true.
Sad but true.
But no, so you know, so many people in our industry came up as what I call link builders. You know what I mean? And as soon as all that started to get stomped out, really, go work at McDonald's. We'll see you later, because you don't have any other talents in this industry. If all you know how to is go out and spam links and things of that nature. But that's what this business was for a very long time. You know.
Right.
You know, we're still in that growth process, even though we've been, some of us have been doing this for 20 years. We're still in that growth process, and again, I'll keep looping back to that old, but it's understanding that the world of mobile is going to be coming up. It's understanding that keyword spamming and simplistic approaches to terms and words are gone. Like, we get that all the time, Doc, right? What top 3 tools you guys recommend? Okay, let's go with my wisdom, my knowledge, and my intelligence. All right here, as 3 tools possible in this business. There is no tool out there that you're going to plug stuff into and make it happen for you. You know, it's something we try to teach all the time with our members, is that so many people in this business put the tool first, and then the strategy is supposed to somehow spill out of this tool. No. You build a strategy, and then whatever data points and whatever information you need to flesh that out, now you find a tool that will give you that data. Now you find a tool that will give you that information. So many people start with the tool first and the strategy second, and it just makes no sense.
Right. No. In fact, I get asked about this pretty often. Which tool do you use? And I say it's the best tool I have is common sense, which is so uncommon.
Oh, wisdom and experience is kind of handy too, you know. Okay, well, like Doc was saying earlier too, it's not a lot of people are critical thinkers. You know what I mean? They don't analyze things, like, and there's just so many simplistic things you can do there. But yeah, it's more about the experience and trying things and seeing what works. Because again, every query space is going to be slightly different. How it's treated. Like I remember when Hummingbird came out. Again, it's sort of a precursor to this whole RankBrain discussion. I remember when that came out. We saw a vast difference in the sense that query classifications were changing. That let's say a query that traditionally sounds transactional and would be full of transactional results, because these are companies spitting the money into links and stuff. Google had started to evolve into a mixture. When it's not a completely known transactional query, a bit informational, a bit of transactional, they were mixing the results a lot more back when Hummingbird came out. So again, this is something you get from years of watching query spaces and years of experience, and you either got to be able to spot that or you don't.
We got a question here. I'm going to take a stab. Somebody asked, how big is software RankBrain? Okay.
Hey, before you answer, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. I've got a client call scheduled in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to scoot. But thanks for letting me hang out with you.
Always a pleasure, Shelly. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a great day. Okay, so somebody has asked, how big is the RankBrain software? Well, first off, my first response to that is we have no idea. Much like we don't know much about RankBrain and actually how it works, we certainly have no idea how large their software is. But I'll offer you this. When you think about how an algorithm looks at content, whether it be an image or a voice search or text, okay, the density of the information contained in an image is tremendous. The density of information in a voice analysis is tremendous. The density in text is minuscule in comparison, okay? And when they apply vectoring to the words and phrases that they encounter in that search query, to determine that in English the word table has a vector that is identical to the vector for mesa in Spanish, which means table. Now the density is a fraction. I mean, not even, it's a fraction of what it was for text, excuse me, for image or voice. So the algorithm to look at things in a vectoring format via RankBrain, my suspicion is that it would be amazingly small compared to what they were doing 3 or 4 years ago with their traditional information retrieval and even their text-based search query analysis. When they were looking at it back in 2010, 2008, I would imagine that software was many, many times larger than what the RankBrain is doing comparably. That's conjecture on my part, but knowing how vectors work, I think it's a pretty safe bet that it is a huge reduction in the size of the software, which translates to much less speed required. It makes it a much
greater accuracy,
less processing of the machine required. So
greater accuracy, less cycles. So if anything, it's probably could potentially be smaller than a lot of other semantic analysis approaches because, how many different ones have we seen over the years? You know what I mean? From LDA to freaking phrase-based with Anna Patterson and stuff like that. How many variants of semantic analysis have existed in the past compared to this? So you're getting a higher degree of accuracy with less cycles having to run, right? So if anything, strangely enough, I would assume this might even be a bit smaller than past approaches. Probably is.
Oh, a lot smaller, I would think. A lot.
So we shall see. But yeah, I don't know, man. It is what we don't know. And again, this is sort of a evolutionary thing. This is more to get you thinking about voice search. This is more to get you thinking about, what we were talking about, Pedro was talking about earlier, about seeing the web outside of the web, seeing the world outside the web, and understanding that, search engines or at least Google itself is gone beyond the search engine now. It's become that personal assistant that they want to be and things of that nature that's expanding. I think copywriters will have a better time with it because they don't have to sit there and have clients telling them to stuff this word and these synonyms in there all the time and this and that. And I think to a degree that, it probably, I would imagine, down the line is going to help with spam. And if you're a straight-up marketer, if you're a straight-up SEO and you're playing by the rules and whatever those are, it's going to help against spam and things of that nature. Because, I think machine learning, Pedro, I think they've been using machine learning on spam for quite a long time now.
Yeah. I mean, that's first where they started to test it out. That's the first attempts of machine learning was on spam, because it was the Google always wanted. You guys all know that Google always tried to find a way not to depend so much on manipulative signals like links and keywords and stuff. So machine learning was and has been one of those attempts that Google has been pursuing to try to get not to depend so much on anything that it's manipulative. So spam is obviously the first where they started learning what's spam, what are the patterns, what they can learn from spam behavior and how to detect it, diminishing false positives and false negatives.
Well, that's a great point, Pedro, because if you think about it, everything that Google is doing is about discovery and detection, whether it be a voice search, understanding the query through RankBrain, or detecting what the context of your page is on your website, or trying to detect sentiment. That's all they do. Everything that they do in every front is pointed at trying to learn and understand. So.
Well, even you look at a page like the CNN homepage or something like that, New York Times, whatever. You could have finance and sports and this and that. You could have multitudes of topics on a given page So how do they pick that apart? Like they used to use page segmentation kind of stuff, and I think again this kind of better NLP approaches, I can only see that helping. Better to figure out better what each page is, multi-topic like hub pages and things of that nature. So. But again, folks, yeah, you can tell your bosses you do not need to focus on RankBrain at all. You're good. I think if you want to teach your bosses anything, go with what we've been talking here, that the future is going to be made up of voice search, which is going to be made up of more ambiguous queries and more bizarre queries, things that this is where, and so start watching that mobile data. How important is mobile data to your client's site or to your site? Where does this start to play in? Because to me, that's where this is all leading to down the road. So.
Yeah, and please don't say things like you have to optimize for RankBrain or we have to get top of RankBrain.
Oh,
yeah, that's really
if one of your staff ever says that to you, fire him right now. Get him out of here.
Absolutely. you can't optimize for that. Yeah.
I have a stupid question. Yeah, I have a license.
There are no stupid questions.
Okay.
We said, Pedro, before you came in, we said the only stupid questions are the ones you don't ask.
Yeah, okay. I will ask a couple.
But if you do the answer, I'm here.
Okay, RankBrain is Google. Yeah. But what about the rest of them? Bing, Yandex, Baidu. Do they have anything like that?
Okay, yeah, it's a safe bet someone's looking at it over there, because again, one of the guys that worked on the Word2Vec stuff with Google, literally, he was at Bing for like 4 months straight out of university, then he went to Google, worked on a bunch of these papers and stuff, and then he was literally only at Google for about 6, 8, 10 months, and then he went over to Facebook. So some of these same characters that have been working on this technology have worked at Bing, they've worked at Google, and they've some are now working over at Facebook. So yeah, Google's certainly not the only one looking at this. That's a safe bet.
And I would say something else too. Yandex has traditionally not put a lot of focus on keywords. Okay, they've never really looked so much at exact word match from search query to documents. So my suspicion would be that something along the lines of AI. Word vector driven AI is probably something that they've been looking at, working on for some time, because they show good results. If I do some work with some clients that do a lot on Yandex, and they have great search results, and they don't do it on a strict match. They seem to have, although they don't talk about anything, they do seem to have a pretty good handle on understanding the search query and contextual matching. So I don't know how they would be doing that as well as they do without following a similar path.
Yeah, well, Yandex obviously a few years back they said they don't use links. After that they said they do use links. So I'm not sure about now. But obviously Yandex is very good only with one language. Google is much. If you do query in English, yeah, Google is always better. It's my personal experience.
And it's information retrieval. A lot of this stuff's being worked out at Stanford, MIT, and elsewhere. You know what I mean? This isn't truly a Google thing per se. You know what I mean? So these guys are probably being hired by every major search engine out there. So I don't think this just the term RankBrain is something people are getting caught up in, as opposed to trying to understand word vectors and things of that nature. So yeah, no, definitely this is going to be everywhere. This is more of a technology level thing than it is a Google thing. So definitely it's going to be out there. It's like funny, TrustRank was always something that people used to throw around 10 years ago. Oddly enough, that was actually something that came out of Yahoo. No one just remembers that. So, but no, definitely it's out there.
Right. Yeah, and like we said earlier, Russ, you need to start writing for the users rather than the search engine. So be it any search engines, irrespective of all the search engines, if you write for the users, you will be there.
Yeah, it's like saying, how do I optimize for Macintosh rather than desktop? You don't.
Absolutely.
Well, no, but it's actually, Doc, it's almost like saying is McDonald's the only one that has hamburgers. Well, no, everyone's got hamburgers. They're just different types and flavors and, different approaches.
Right, exactly.
Let's optimize hamburgers.
That's it. I'm going right now, man. Off to Fiverr I go. I'm going to get me some extra links to hamburgers. And don't try that at home.
I want to ask a question about biometric identity. Like, it seems like it would make sense that there would be like some sort of connection here, like with the Trust API, the Abacus code name. But I don't know what it is, so I just wanted to like bring it up and see if anyone had any thoughts on that. Can you hear me?
Your sound is really garbled.
Okay.
Right, right.
You look like an artificial intelligence speaking.
My alien chipmunk.
But I guess we need to see that on the Q&A.
Yeah, we can't really hear you, Christian.
All right, try that again, Kristen. I can hear you pretty good. I think I can figure it. What was your question?
Okay, my question is about like biometric identities. Like it seems like RankBrain would have, you know, like there would be some crossover here because, you know, like everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's biometric stuff. I think is going to be slightly different. You know, again, but RankBrain's still more of a processing layer, if you will. You know what I mean? Whereas biometric is going to be its own world altogether. You know, I don't know how much that will ever get into things because that's when people might get a little creepy. About Bill's patent coverage. I'm not kidding you. I covered a patent from Microsoft, maybe 2005 or 6. And I even used a little picture of the 2001 Space Odyssey, the little red dot. And I had, I'm sorry, Dave, this is not the search result you're looking for. And essentially what it was trying to read your blood pressure, trying to read your skin temperature and things of that nature to understand your satisfaction with a given situation. Turns out that was probably for Kinect, because back then we didn't have a Kinect on the Xbox, so it turns out that's what that probably was. But I think biometrics in general, I don't know how far they'll ever get used anytime soon. You know, obviously people have been looking at it for 15, 20, whatever odd years, and it'll eventually do something out there. You know, again, you can, you know, your Kinect on your Xbox is reading your body temperature and all that crap already, but you know how much that'll play into the, you know, anything we're doing and how that would relate to RankBrain, I doubt it. It's probably a different layer altogether somewhere else.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we've been about an hour. If you have anything to say, yeah, also this is a great time to say, and we probably will be kind of finishing. We've seen Armand Jones was watching us and saying something about Gerald. Dave.
I'll throw something out for a closing comment. You know, every time something happens with search in general, we try to look at what are they doing, how are they doing it, you know, how can we take advantage of it perhaps, but you know, I also think where might they be going? And what I find really exciting about RankBrain is where it might end up, because right now it's focused on search queries. And it seems to be doing a pretty good job. And you know, they tend to test things before they apply them in a larger field. And I think that at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to see this AI-style contextual interpretation not applied to just search queries, but applied to the documents, so that they're going to understand what a page is about. And that is going to speed things up. It's going to, you know, as a learning algorithm, it's going to improve over time. It's going to take a tremendously smaller portion of Google's or any search engine's resources in terms of machine cycles. It's just going to revolutionize search. It's going to revolutionize everything except the way we should be doing our sites for our target market.
Yeah, you don't even know if the future is going to be a website. What's going to be your digital presence in the future? Is it going to be in the form of HTML, a website? Is it going to be an app that streams from Google servers is going to be what we can morph into anything that we are not yet using. So I think the biggest asset that I got, I worked for 5.5 years at Google. I'm not there since 2011. But I think the best thing I got is I got to learn to think like a search engineer. And I got to learn to think where Google wants to be and how it works. Not how it works, its mechanisms, but how it works, its way of thinking, what they want to aim for. And if you learn to think like this, you'll never be outdated in your line of thought, because as long as you understand what Google is and where they want to be, and how search works, basically, I think many SEOs, I think it was said many times here, still don't understand what a search engine really does and how is.
I'll go beyond many and say most.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't understand how a thing works, you are bound to the recipes that you learn. Like, how does this work? I'm gonna give me the recipe for how does this work. No, you need to be more agnostic. You need to be more holistic and look at the whole thing, because
like an auto mechanic, how do you tune up a car if you have no idea how an internal combustion engine works?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, when all you got's a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So, yeah, I'll agree totally with that. And again, that anyone who still is thinking the future of search for their clients in terms of a website, in terms of just search results on 10 blue links on a page, I don't think you're really getting it. I agree with Pedro that it's like you said, moments, places, times, and then you got applications, then you've got different needs of an end user. Again, get an Android, write it off in your taxes, folks. It's R&D, man. You don't need that Android in your hand. That is gold. And start talking to it. Okay, Google, and do stuff. You know what I mean? Like, say, okay, Google, what, and talk to it, find things. And we didn't even touch on conversational search, guys and gals. Like, that's a whole other world right there. Is that whole, how does a conversation and a search task evolve over time of a user, in that search task? If you're really still limited, like Pedro's saying, to just that 10 blue links, then I don't think you're catching it, because where Google's going with Android already, if you go and play with it for a couple hours a day, you'll sit. I still today can pick up my Android, start talking to it, and go, whoa, didn't know it did that, and didn't know it does this, and and so querying Google is no longer just the search engine and 10 blue links. It's now a device. Google's this ubiquitous device that will help you with so many other things, and how you query things is going to be like that. If you got clients that are doctors, yeah, make sure you send 5 emails a day to your patients, because the next time they put in your name or whatever doctor, it's going to come up with you when they query the device, because you are someone they talk to a lot. So it's way beyond just 10 blue links. So there's my 2 cents.
All right. So my final thoughts, as I would put across, is say probably stop optimizing for RankBrain. Rather do it more from the user perspective, and rest of the things just flows about. Yeah. There you go, Anton.
You're muted, Anton.
You're muted.
No, you're still muted, Anton.
I'm muted. Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, guys. Pedro, do you want to say anything? And we're gonna off air.
No, I mean, no, I'm good. It was a pleasure being invited and being able to discuss and talk with all of you here. I follow many of you on Twitter and Google Plus and whatever we are. Watch a lot of discussions, and it was great to finally have a chat screen to screen, because this is not face to face.
Yeah, Christian was kind of, not muted, but yeah, we couldn't really hear, and she was late, and she's freezing from time to time. Okay, Christian, is well, you most of the guys know, but some of them maybe don't. Christian is permanent member of Amon and Bill Bogus Hangout. So if anybody wants to get there, and well, Christian is the person who can arrange things. Okay, okay, everyone who watched us, thank you very much, and thank you, David and Doc. Thank you, Malhar, and thank you, Pedro. Shelly already gone. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, everyone who watched us. It was very, very interesting conversation. We kind of became like an elite club, yeah. So on a level of highbrow. How highbrow conversation was. Okay, thank you very much. You all can say, hey, hi mom, I'm on the tele, and because we're going off air, we're going off air.